Ah, Sundays. The day of rest. It's the end of the week, all work is done, and it's time to chill out and be at peace. So please tell me why I've decided to watch a fucking 8 Passengers video today. And not even just a normal 8 Passengers video, a video of Ruby, the mother, talking about disowning a trans relative, which I'm sure is going to be filled with many great points. It's a shit show, and I don't think that's going to be a surprise to absolutely anybody, but let's get into where I found this video from. So I actually found this as a re-uploaded video on a channel called Callin, and I believe the original has been deleted. Now when it was deleted, I'm not 100% sure, but if I actually go on the channel that's re-uploaded it, all these videos that they've re-uploaded are all videos that actually did come out on the Connections channel within the last few days. So with that being said, it does make me believe that this video was also uploaded on the Connections channel within the last few days, but has since been taken down. I don't know that 100%, I'm just guessing here. But before we do get into this video, which is Ruby answering a question that someone had about their relative who has actually just came out as trans, let me just give a quick overview of who Ruby is, just in case you aren't already aware. I am going to try and make this as quick as possible because I have made so many videos on the 8 Passenger channel in the past, but let's just say there's 2 parents and a bunch of kids. The parents have faced a lot of criticism because of the way that they raise their kids, sending a kid to a behavioural wilderness camp, taking a kid's bed away for 7 months because he played a prank on his brother, not giving certain kids presents at Christmas. Then you've got other stuff like their 6-year-old kid actually forgot to pack their own lunch for school, and when the school rang Ruby to say, can you bring some lunch for your child, she said no, because the natural consequence of not packing your food is starving for the day. And I really am just scratching the surface there. That's not even talking about the cease and desist that they've sent out and whatnot. Okay, there's so much other stuff that I've mentioned in previous videos, so if you do want to go and see more, then obviously there's videos out there. But we haven't spoke about this video before, so let's give it a watch, shall we?
I have a roast cooking downstairs, and I wish you could smell what I'm smelling. Dinner smells really amazing.
I've got to be honest, Ruby, if I was smelling what you're smelling, that would mean that I'd have to be somewhat in the same vicinity as you, and trust me, I do not want that to happen.
And before I do, I want to remind everybody what we're doing here.
The fact that she's had to give a warning already, bit of a red flag, right? She did the exact same thing with the video where she said she wasn't going to give certain kids presents at Christmas. She gave a bit of a warning at the beginning, and she was like, I realise that this might be a bit controversial. Something tells me then you probably shouldn't do it then.
On this website, on this Facebook page, this is something different than anywhere else you're going to get. No one else has a group where moms come together to learn principles.
Oh, so this is a Facebook group for mothers. Okay, this is Ruby giving advice to other mothers on how to be parents, which is slightly worrying.
If you are here to offer feedback that's not based in principle, but that is based in your own history, being politically correct, according to you as you interpret. If this is opinion, this is not the place for you.
Right, so she basically just said, if you disagree with me, you're wrong. Also, what do you mean the principles of truth? You just said that someone can't disagree with you if it's based on their own opinions or their own life experiences. What are you basing it on then? Because it's no secret by now that whatever your principles of truth are a load of shit. But yeah, I already hate this, and she hasn't even gotten to the worst bits yet.
I'm going to read a question from this mother, and as I read it, practice hearing it in principle. Don't get distracted by the details of this conflict, but look at the principles underneath.
The amount of warnings she has given so far already tells you that what she is about to say about whatever this question is going to be shite. She basically just said, don't listen to the context of the question, just the principles. Whatever that means. But you know what, maybe it'll make sense once we hear the question, okay? Remember, think in principles.
My sister's child, I would say niece because that's how I know her as, but I don't know if that's offensive or not, has come out as transgender. Okay, so right there already, this gal is writing this question and she's already gone into control. She's saying, I don't know how to talk about this. I don't know if I call her niece. I don't know if I call her a nephew. I don't want to offend anyone. So already there's control. And you can't have truth. You can't have principles if you're in control.
What are you saying, Ruby? Let's stop with the whole, like, secret code, okay? No principles, no truth, all this shit. What are you actually trying to say? Because the gist I'm getting, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the gist I'm getting is that you think it's a bit stupid that she's questioning if it's her niece or nephew or whatever else you would say. I mean, just call them by what they want to be called. Maybe. It's not that difficult, right?
That control, that I'm scared of saying anything wrong, that will preclude you from being able to see principles of truth. And that's a principle. That's true for anywhere.
What are you saying? That will stop you from seeing principles of truth. And by the way, that's a principle of truth everywhere. Like, what are you going on about? You're just shouting in the word principle and truth into any sentence you can say. Like, what is this? This is so fucking bizarre.
And you go into fear of like, oh my gosh, I don't want to offend them. I don't want to tell him that he's going bald in the back. I don't know if he's noticed that. I'm afraid to tell him. You're in control and you're not going to see the principles. You're not going to see the principle that...
Right, new drinking game. Every time she says principles, you take a shot. But like I said, it is Sunday, so I will not be drinking alcohol, but someone out there might be. I'll join you with the water. But also, again, what the fuck's this got to do with people going bald?
I have had that experience. If you know my husband, he's a cue ball now. He got rid of all of it. He lost all of it.
Yes, we know, Ruby. Your husband has a very shiny head. Good for him, but... what the fuck's that got to do with anything?
So we as a family are conflicted as to whether or not we should continue to spend time with them. Should we see them less or even completely cut them out of our lives? Okay, so right there's some more control. She's got this set up as black and white.
Okay, Ruby, but what about the principles? What a bizarre question to even answer on this, like, advice Facebook group anyways. The person asking the question has basically just said, should I disown my family member because they've came out as trans? Like, surely the answer should be very simple. Bear in mind we've got over 10 minutes left this video, so something tells me she isn't just gonna go, no, you shouldn't disown your family member because they've came out as trans, because that would make you a dickhead. In fact, she's actually gonna spend the next 10 minutes jumping around the question, saying principles, saying truth, and is probably gonna come to the conclusion that, yeah, if you want to disown them, you should.
And so she's looking at it saying, what do I do? And I get it. This is a situation I'm sure many people are in.
Do you get it though? Do you really get it? Like, the way she's talking about it is making it seem as if this is like a understandable problem to have. It's not. It's your fucking family. And it's not even like we're talking about, like, your family member doing something bad. It's just someone who's came out as trans, and you're talking about it like they've done something absolutely horrible. And the fact that there's so long left of this is very, very worrying.
Maybe you're afraid of bringing your kids over to a family member because they're doing drugs. Or maybe you're afraid to take them over there because they use crude language.
What the fuck are you going on about then? Like, I don't know if I'm just losing my mind here a little bit, but did she just say drugs? You're talking about a situation where someone doesn't want their kids hanging around with their own family member because they've came out as trans, and you've compared it to the fact that you wouldn't want your kids hanging around someone who does drugs. What? It's actually quite a disgusting comparison. The fact that she even made that comparison in the first place is a bit grim. And you know what? I'm not even going to point out the reason why that's a stupid comparison, because if you don't know why, then I feel a bit bad for you.
This isn't about LGBTQ. This is about principles.
No, it's not. Shut up. Shut up right now. It is about the LGBTQ community. In fact, it's about nothing else. Like, did you read the question? But no, of course, it's actually about principles, eh? Bottoms up.
And I don't like the word cut out or cut off, because that indicates aggression, that indicates anger, that indicates self-righteousness.
Well, actually, I would personally use a lot worse words than you said there. I think what you said was actually quite a compliment. I would personally say disowning your family member and cutting them off completely because they're trans would make you transphobic, very ignorant, and a grade A prick. But if you want to go with angry, then we'll go with that.
But I am worried that if we continue this way, when my children will grow up confused and divert a child from a truthful Christian mindset. Okay, so this mother has a real concern.
What do you think this is? Like, you're going about it like it's a fucking disease. Like, the way she's describing it is like, oh, I don't want my kids to hang around with a trans person because it might catch something. That's just not how it works. Families don't all have to have the same sexualities or be the same gender, okay? Like, that's just basic fucking logic. Like, your husband likes women who refuse to give their kids food at school and take away their bed when they played a prank on their brother, or not give them presents at Christmas, or send them to behavioural wilderness camps. But clearly, as we've seen with your family drama recently, other people in your family don't seem to have them same opinions. weird how that works.
Okay, so this mother has a real concern, and it's a legitimate concern.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
How do you spend time with another person and not be influenced by them?
The only thing confusing right now is the way that you're fucking talking, Ruby. How do you spend time with people and not be influenced by them? In what way though? Like, I have a friend, and guess what? She's a dancer, but you don't see me going around the house doing fucking twirls and stuff, do you? I haven't all of a sudden got me tap shoes out and started tapping around the gaff, have I? Like, it doesn't work like that. Also, by the way, as I was saying that little joke right there, I was trying to, like, mimic the tapping on the floor, and I quickly realised that I genuinely have 2 left feet. I will never do that ever again. But yeah, whatever. Principles, truth, all that shit. Okay, right? Let's carry on listening.
And is that confusing? To spend time at home with a mom and a dad teaching principles of truth, and then you go outside the home and spend time with someone and they're not.
Shut up. You're just transphobic. Say how it is. Say it with your chest, Ruby. Like, that's what's going on here. Look at her face as well. She looks so miserable. Like, genuinely, if I had to spend 5 minutes in the company of Ruby, Franke, or whatever her name is, I would be so sad.
I had a very, very similar experience. And while the details are very different, the principles underneath it are the same.
Oh, I wonder if she's actually talking about the family drama that has happened recently. If you haven't already seen, I did make a video about this a little while ago, but basically, Ruby and her husband and her kids no longer see all the other people in her family who also do YouTube. They have a very big family. And it's just their part of the family that seems to have this issue going on, which is quite interesting, but not surprising.
I took a 5-gallon bucket of sugar, and I had some leftover, like a cup of leftover salt. I thought it was sugar, but it was salt. And I poured it into the bucket of sugar. So I took the first 2 inches. I thought that ought to be enough. That ought to cover it. I took out the first 2 inches of salt out of the sugar bucket. It was still salty. So I poured out half the bucket of sugar, and then I tasted it. It was still salty. What the heck?
What the fuck is she going on about? I'm losing my mind here, Jesus Christ. What's this got to do with anything?
All the way down to the very bottom of my 5-gallon bucket, down here, it was salty. How did that happen?
Because you put salt in it. Are you dumb?
Mom, Dad, you are responsible for yourself, for keeping truth around you, and your child.
Okay, so are you trying to say that because you put salt in a bucket of sugar, and when you try to take the salt out, you couldn't because the salt had got to the bottom, you are comparing that to your kid hanging around with a trans person, but you won't be able to remove the trans from your kid because it'll, like, infect them in some way? Like, I feel like that's what she's trying to say here, in a roundabout way, okay? And that is the most bizarre thing I've ever heard in my life.
It is your job to teach them truth. And so if you allow other distortions, if you allow other influences to come, even if it's like, hey, it's just 1 day, or hey, it's just an hour here, it will infiltrate the entire person.
Infiltrate? It's not like a fucking James Bond mission. And she said she wouldn't even let them spend an hour together. What is going on? She uploaded this publicly for people to see.
The principle here is compartmentalizing. So if you bring this back into honest, responsible, and humble, when you compartmentalize your life, you're saying, I'll be responsible here, 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 but right here is the exception. I can live in distortion right here. And there's no truth in that.
Wow, I have never seen someone overcomplicate a situation that really shouldn't be complicated in the first place. Like, what have I actually just watched? It was such a simple question to navigate around, and she just blabbered on and said the most bizarre sentences I think I've ever heard. I'm losing my mind here.
I understand how terrifying it is in today's world to stand up for truth. Why? Because it gets turned back on you.
Imagine how terrifying it is for people who actually have come out as trans and they have to deal with people like you. Like, the way she clearly judges people in such a horrible way that she knows nothing about other than the fact that they're trans is mental. She just tried to play the victim and said, I realise in today's world it can be absolutely terrifying to stick up for truth. What's the truth here then? That your kids shouldn't hang around with people that are trans is basically what you're saying right now. It's so grim. It's actually so grim.
I can see where you're coming from. Distortion's not going to do that. Distortion is going to go, rah! It's going to come right at you. And you're going to go, if you're not confident in your principles.
I can't believe what I've just watched. She growled. She actually growled.
Rah!
I'm lost for words. This is the most strange video I've ever seen. What is she going on about? I don't get it. But I don't know, maybe I just can't handle the principles and all the truths, you know? I mean, let me know your thoughts down below. Maybe you agree with Ruby? I doubt it. But yeah, we're gonna leave it there. I feel like I need to go and take a shower right now. Like, after watching it, I feel a bit grim, just a bit dirty, you know? So I'm gonna clean myself up and, yeah, I guess till the next one. In a bit. Cheers.